on? What's going on? Another week in wrestling. You know already what it is. For the love of wrestling, it is the Flow Show. We are back. 2/3 of the Fresh Triangle, or I like to call it the three-man power trip. I just, if I say it, we'll print it eventually. You know what I mean? Kwency Jones go. Brian Andrew, what's going on? Shout out to Mac Lowe, man. Had a little bit of fallout this week. Obviously, coming out of kind of a high-profile weekend before. Raw actually wasn't too bad. There were some parts that I was like, okay, I see they're integrating some of the younger talent in actual believable spots, like Damian Priest. I was surprised that they actually had him step up to Bobby Lashley.
Right.
Pretty good segment. You know what I mean? Would have never thought that they would even consider him for that spot. So I thought that was kind of a little bit of a vote of confidence. You know what I mean? Or it could be like what they always do. They're just, they got a huge hole in the roster. So they're just, identity crisis. Who's next? You know what I mean? But
they always just tease us too. Like, this is, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I do believe the WWE understands what we like. And they sometimes choose to kind of tease us and then go back to doing what they like.
I 100% believe that that's what Vince loves to do. Like, he's just like, yeah, but don't forget, who holds the wrestling globe in their hands. You know what I mean?
Like, and you're still gonna watch, kind of thing. Like,
I mean, it's been proven. As the day old freaking argument is like, well, why do you still watch? It's like because you want to see if it's gonna change, or then you just sit there and you build yourself up. And it's funny, I was come back around with Raw lately, you know what I mean? So especially when you see the way that they just repackaged Karrion Kross the Gimp, or Lord Humongous, or man, there's a bunch of them, man. Like, I was like, this fool has like the old school mask from the Sultan. He has like the old school like mask from I forgot the name that freaking A-Train came back, or Albert Tensai.
Yeah,
the whole like head. I don't understand why are we hiding his face? And I'm like, and then is this a gimmick? And if so, is Scarlett, is that where Scarlett comes in and she's like the mistress, or the, you know what I mean, that pulls
dominatrix?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how this world works. I'm just like, what are we doing with this guy? Like, the memes went up. I forgot the name of the character, but there was the Road Warrior episode of Rick and Morty with the dude with the bucket on his head, and it was like kind of the same thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I felt bad. I like, is he done at this? I mean, he's not. I mean, it didn't give him any more reaction than he is already not getting. You know what I mean? It was just like
I think Kross is an interesting case, because when he went to NXT, I think everyone's idea was like, well, like, out of everyone, like, we could see why, knowing the WWE for how many years we watched it, that like, oh, we could see maybe why Shinsuke didn't work, or maybe why Bobby Roode didn't work, or why like we don't understand why they didn't try to make it work, but we understand why the WWE eventually felt like it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, there was times where I felt like it was maybe just not a whole lot of trust in you know what I mean, as far as investment in the character to let him actually prove them right or wrong. But yeah,
when Karrion Kross though went to NXT, we were all like, yeah, but when he's on the main roster, like, we even felt like this could be a case of him having like a 3-month run on NXT, or he wins the title but then vacates it to go to Raw, like one of those situations, or he's just gonna be really
close too. I mean, if not for the injury, I you know what I mean?
Right, like, we
probably would have went that way.
We were like, because we even felt like we could see why it's on NXT, but we felt like he's a main roster guy, and we were like, Vince is gonna love this guy.
Yeah, I mean, even down to the entrance, like, he had like this main roster-esque like. Like, he stood out from the rest of the NXT roster. I mean, that's why I liked when Adam Cole poked fun, like, oh, you're just like smoke machines and this big entrance and the girl. I'm just Adam freaking Cole, but it you know what I mean? It was like a main event presentation, and then like And on top of that, you got guys like Randy Orton who was publicly tweeting at him and about him several times.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you need to get your ass up here. Like, I want to work together. And then it's like, oh man. So this RK Bro thing's looking pretty good.
Yeah, and we're like, well, what? And then so I think that's what's confusing. And with everything going on with NXT right now, it's just one of those, like, as a fan, I can't sit here and know what the fuck's happening. You know, like, I don't know what direction they're gonna go with. Is everyone in NXT right now, just like everyone right now, kind of like,
I feel like everyone's just on their they're just kind of like, they don't know what's gonna happen. You know,
because like the best you could do is like wait till maybe the new batch of talent that like Nick Khan and Vince bring in, are those going to be the ones that were like, oh, those are going to be the future main roster guys, and they're going to try to make sure those guys work for sure.
Well, what do you did you read the or hear the comments from Nick Khan about basically what his idea is for this revamp? I mean, I don't know if you saw that freaking logo that came out like I think a couple hours ago.
So am I don't think I'm the only one. I can't be the only one. It reminds me a whole lot of the Dynamite color scheme, you know, like,
oh, when they first, they did have that kind of like I don't want to say eclectic, but they had like the multicolor type of deal. They kind of morphed away from it a little bit after a while, but I remember when they first started, they had that kind of like, you know, splash of rain, you know, I don't want to say rainbow, but you know, just the whole color wheel of things going on. But this I thought this was maybe just for I don't know, an event logo or something, but the fact that the actual NXT account actually tweeted it and said something about like things are coming or whatever, I was like, oh shit, you know.
I'll let you keep talking. I need to do something real quick. But I'll let you keep talking.
You're good, dude. But yeah, and regards to the Nick Khan thing, basically his idea for the revamp is they're not trying to I don't want to say recruit. I guess that's what it is. They're not trying to recruit or target their scouting in the indie wrestling pool anymore. It's more about, I guess, the pool of these extraordinary or otherwise premier athletes that, you know, maybe didn't make it in their sport of expertise, but they, you know, can definitely, you know, because that's the thing, that pro leagues they're almost, you know, damn near impossible to get into. Not everyone's going to get in, but you know, at the end of the day, a lot of people have a lot to give, a lot to offer, a lot of potential, and you know, that's pretty much where their focus is going right now, is getting, you know, kind of their hooks in that kind of talent, that raw talent that they can, you know, the ones that are coachable, teachable, and they can teach, you know, I mean, you know, I guess how to work. For me, my ultimate concern with that is also, you know, making sure that they're educated in the business itself, practices, and just, you know, ethics, the politics, everything that they don't teach you. You know what I mean? Just actually knowing like what it is they're getting themselves into. It just, I don't know, it's weird, but I do know that he also said that it's just one of those things where now, I don't know if you remember back in the day when you were, you know, back in the day, I'm dated, I know, but when watching wrestling, did you ever think to yourself like, dude, how do you even become a wrestler, right? Like it's not a go-to answer. You're just like, these guys just exist, or I mean, there's a school, or I mean, when you get older, you learn about these things, but they make sure that it's not an easy road to take just for anyone off the street to kind of like try their hand at, because it was so protected.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Khan is trying to open that up. Like, he's basically saying that he wants, you know, he understands how it kind of easier the path or clearer the path is, I should say, when it comes to other, you know, collegiate athletes and otherwise like trained athletes trying to make it to the pro level. And they kind of know what they got to do to get there, but you know, it doesn't always work out. WWE not the same, but he's trying to make it like that, where he's, you know, like he's trying to make that communication, that line of communication real open, where it's like, in his words, they know where to find us and we know where to find them. So if someone finds himself wanting to be a WWE superstar, they know exactly where to go and who to call to try to make that happen. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
Do you feel like you're trying to, for example, like, I think we had this conversation a couple weeks ago about like, you know, Zack Ryder or Macedonia is like he's a WWE wrestler, He was brought up. He did it for a decade, and you could say the same. We were kind of making the same case kind of about Tyler Breeze, but Tyler Breeze is a very good wrestler. Not saying Zack Ryder wasn't, but
for this example, I see what you're
saying. A lot of indie guys come in already knowing the craft, and it's basically just trying to figure out, can they be better and can they get into the WWE mold? And I think like maybe Vince or Nick Khan kind of realized it's more difficult to get an indie guy to bring on to do the WWE thing than to kind of just bring in a blank project, someone who's probably wrestled in college or a football player in college or something, and then come in and say, we're going to make you from day one what we want you to be.
Yeah.
And do you think that's that case? Like,
I mean, it's weird because I think it's a little bit of that, and it's also just I can't shake the fact that it's not, I can't, that there's like these disagreements between, father and son-in-law. Because you look at NXT and you look at, and even before like any of the influx of the indie guys came, like even if you, okay, like let's be fair, I'll cut it off at like Sami Zayn, you know what I mean? So you had the Tyler Breezes and the Tyson kids and all that, right? Like their style was still different to me vastly than the WWE style, even back then when I was watching. Obviously the influx of the indie guys came in, and then I don't know if Tripp is like, yo, this stuff is like dope. Like, let's kind of let this go. I don't know if it's William Regal, who I know did a majority of the scouting at like the Evolve events, who was like being the old head saying like, yo, kind of let them run with it and integrate a little bit of our style into it. But I would argue that maybe they're just trying to just make it. I mean, I made the joke before. Like, I feel like they're just trying to make a bunch of various different robotic John Cena's that they can control, market, and push, and manipulate, and not manipulate in a bad way, but you know what I mean. Try to just from a business point, like just in. I don't know. Like, I'm not against outsiders coming into this thing. I just hope they have as much respect for it and not looking at it as just an easy buck or an easy way to kind of make a living. And they got to be good, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Some of these guys actually have good personality. We've seen it with Pat McAfee. So who knows? I mean, who to say that if Pat McAfee didn't actually go through the PC for real and actually train, and actually became, you know what I mean? Like, I think he's, that's one of those one in a couple hundred type of things. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, to be honest. But I got to get your opinion on one thing. Did you hear Booker T's comments about the whole CM Punk return?
So I didn't hear the comments, but all week following the CM Punk thing, people have been making references to jokes toward Booker T, and I've just been too lazy to go figure out what Booker T actually said. So this would be a good forum for that.
Well, the thing with Booker T is like, I don't know. I love Booker T. I don't know what he was watching, as a lot of people pretty much would quote. He basically said that he felt the CM Punk promo, the return and all that, was a strikeout. He said, these are his words, a strikeout. Said that he had a chance to do something really good and have a quote unquote a party up in there, as Booker likes to talk. He said he had the perfect crowd in his hands, and he chose to do what he called a WWE promo that he's heard before, because he felt all he did was quote unquote talk about WWE and bring up, what do you say, ice cream bars that no one gives a damn about. He didn't say WWE once. I mean, he I don't want to say he tiptoed around it. He mentioned it in the most professional way, but in the way where it's a shoot and people understood exactly where he was coming from. Like, for those that know. For those who don't, they need to be educated. That's not on us. But he only talked about him real briefly. You know what I mean? So, I mean, at the same time, Booker is a WWE guy. I mean, I believe he's still doing a lot of the pre-show panels and all that. I joked that I was like, oh, this must be an extended brand loyalty, because, it must have paid a lot to get him and his brother in the Hall of Fame. So we got to, I don't think Stevie Ray would have went in with the NWO. I don't think that at all. No knock on Stevie Ray. It's just he doesn't have any WWE moments.
Right.
But yeah, that one was setting everybody crazy because it was just because even his co-host, I forgot his name. Sorry for being miseducated on that one, but he was like putting it over, like, asking him how he felt if this was probably in the ballpark of one of the best like wrestling moments of of the modern era, like at least the last like 5 years and stuff like that. And Book that's what he said. It wasn't for him. He said the exact words, he struck out. And I'm just like, how?
Do you think he felt like he had to be the only one to say something negative? I know he's not the only one, but he felt like he took the opportunity to use CM Punk to kind of get his name out there again, because like if you just agree that it was good, then you're just like everybody else.
If he did, it backfired severely because he ended up deleting the video that it originated from his YouTube, because he started getting a massive amount of people unsubscribing to the channel after he said it. So yeah, he kind of walked it back without walking it back. But yeah, I don't know. It was just this weird thing where I mean, even Jim Cornette like enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So maybe he was like, well, shit, hold my beer, dog. I don't know. Like he hold my pot of neck bones, dog. Chuck it, duck it, quack, quack. That's a strikeout. I don't know. It was just ridiculousness. But yeah, I mean, did you watch Rampage, by the way?
Yeah, I watched the first match, and then
that was the one to watch.
And then like cruised through the rest, and then kind of like watched the Christian thing to see if anything else would happen there.
But yeah, the Christian thing wasn't bad. I mean, you kind of knew what you were getting with Brandon Cutler in the match.
So I've been hearing this take though, just because this kind of happened. This happened like 3 weeks in a row, technically. The best thing on Rampage has happened first, and
CM Punk. And then what was the opening match?
It was Christian versus Kenny.
Was it? Yeah, you're right, because Britt Baker main evented that night because they were in Pittsburgh. You're right. Yeah.
So how do you feel? So they taped Rampage after Dynamite, I believe, right?
Yeah, because Giannis was on like both Dynamite and
so
I did hear that they actually just said they're going to be moving their taping of Dark to Universal Studios for the time being now.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's free. People can go and watch.
Yeah, that's cool. Like Universal Studios in Florida?
Yeah, I believe, because I was like, well, football season coming in, they can't use Daly's Place anymore, right? Because the Jaguars are going to be wanting their shit back. So, but that's kind of cool. That's kind of what TNA did back in the day. So,
and Dark should be like Dark should really implement kind of like NXT's format.
That's what I've been saying. I was like, it looks like they stole their hour back, like their whole, but yeah, that is an interesting thing. I mean, maybe they're trying to grab viewers immediately, and it's funny because I think like for the third time in a row, I think it's Miro in the middle of the show again. So,
well, I think also keep in mind, I think it's keeping your crowd hot after taping Dynamite. So you're keeping your crowd hot. We're gonna give you this match right away. Yeah. Especially if you think some of the crowd will be like, all right, by the end of the third hour, I want to leave. Like, because even if you promoted the Lucha Bros versus Jurassic Express, you're not necessarily, you might not feel like you still have to stay for that, Like, I feel like a lot of loyal fans.
Well, I mean, there was the stipulation for the finals, so that's probably the only reason people would want to stay, just to see who's going to face the Bucks. But if it was just a regular match, it's like, on paper that sounds dope, but we kind of saw a lot in these 2 hours.
I could be traffic, like I could watch it later.
Then again, I'm the guy that stayed for a dark taping of Ray Phoenix versus Joey Janela for some reason. So
well, like well, I always felt like when I go to see a wrestling event too, like I'm kind of there to see the whole thing. That's what I paid for, so I kind of want to stay. But like I remember when SmackDown used to have 205 Live, I would stay for 205.
I was gonna say I remember they used to do main event for Raw, and I remember who used to work him all the time, but he would be a boss on those matches. Was Swagger or Hager now, but yeah. Right.
So, but I'm intrigued if they keep that format going forward, because it does seem like the crowd's not as hot for main event stuff. So like you still need to kind of have like a main event thing, in my opinion, at the end. But like,
yeah, like a huge.
But on paper, like doing the finals for the tag match and then doing a Christian Cage who's going to be in your title match at AEW, that's still, in my opinion, sticking to a decent format, even if.
Yeah, I mean, because you highlight. I mean, because I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember what was the last match on the second episode.
So it was the Jon Moxley one, right? No.
Oh, you're right, against Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And then on the first one, it was the women's title match, right?
Yeah, with Britt Baker and Red Velvet, which, bless her heart, she messed up. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to be that messed up about it, but I want to get your thoughts on something, because I don't know. I think you may have seen it in the chat. My brother shared this picture of CM Punk's shoes. Did you?
Yeah.
So I don't know how people got like a picture that close, that clear, like the clarity and everything. I went back and double checked, like watching myself, and you can see that there's something where the picture shows that there may be something, but you can't make out exactly what it says. It's not too clear, but apparently that first pair of shoes he wore on the return, it had an A and a C on it. Then people are like, "Oh, that's for Adam Cole." Right. And then apparently this week with the red shoes on Dynamite, it had a B and a W, where people are putting together Bray Wyatt. And then, of course, he had the tease with Daniel Bryan. How'd you feel about it? I don't know if you saw that. How'd you feel about that Daniel Bryan tease, by the way? You think he's giving away too much? I mean, I did hear news that they're possibly moving up his debut, possibly at All Out, which I was kind of bummed about, because I actually had a friend that was going to give me a ticket for the New York show, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to see, if something like that happens. But I mean, if it's their first time in New York, I imagine something cool still has to happen. But
I still think something at that New York show is going to happen. Like, keep in mind, Adam Cole's available now, so maybe you can move Daniel Bryan up and move Adam Cole back.
I mean, they've been, and then he's officially a free agent. Like, he has nothing holding him back from anywhere he wants to show up at. So I mean, not that I don't want him to show up in Ring of Honor, because he definitely has all the regular players he used to be in a crew with there, but it just, to me, would be a step back, because he can offer way so much more, and I don't think they can afford him. I don't know. I mean, I guess do you want to see Adam Cole in AEW, or would you rather see him re-sign, or in some way either back in NXT or WWE?
So if I
main
could be
roster,
if I could be completely honest with you,
100%.
I would much rather have had WWE make some of these guys work for them. Like, I would much rather have seen Adam Cole go through NXT and then have a successful main roster run than for him to jump ship and go to AEW. I would much rather have seen like them make Bray Wyatt and The Fiend work on WWE than for him to have to go somewhere else, or Buddy Murphy and stuff like that. So that being said, I've lost all faith in WWE to make any of this happen. And if for Adam Cole in his prime to have a successful career, he needs to go somewhere else. It's just the way it is.
I mean, it's I don't want to be like, oh, he needs to go to AEW confirmed, and because that's what everyone says. It's like they're like, oh, this is like the new Koch Records. This is where what would 50 Cent say? This is the graveyard for old rappers. It's like for ex-WWE guys. But no, it's like, when you look at the roster and you look at WWE's roster and who they put faith in and who they put a ceiling on based on size alone, it's like, a guy like Ricochet, although he is limited by his promo skills, it's like a guy like Adam Cole is similar in size. You know what I mean? And you're not going to do nothing with him. They don't even have, like, the last time they did anything with guys that size were CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, and they're not there anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't have to do that anymore. Like, if you notice, like, they're trying to kind of eradicate that style, that mold, that template. Like, they're trying to get back to their old stuff. You know what I mean? So if I'm Adam Cole and I'm thinking, what's the best scenario for me, a guy my size? And I hate to be like that because, I don't want to be the next Pat McAfee because that's how it all started, but you look at comparable to all his friends and knows all his friends in AEW, it's like, dude, they're obviously not afraid to put the belt. I mean, like Kenny Omega's not the biggest guy either. You know what I mean? He has muscles, but he's still not like, who. That's what's so funny. I think about the fact that they all had a chance to go over the WWE, and then you think about what they're doing now, and they're like, they would have got rid of all these guys, or done. You know what I mean? I mean, at the least they would have messed it up. I mean, they definitely wouldn't want to do a cowboy gimmick for Hangman in the modern day times. You know what I mean? But
and like,
I was just gonna say, I think like obviously AEW would be the best bet. His wife's or his girlfriend, fiance is there. I mean, it's just it makes more sense. I mean, I don't know if it's too much talent too soon because if it's like Punk, then Daniel, and we're still trying to even get used to Andrade. You know what I mean? So, that's my only concern with that is just it looking like it's just a total talent raid, you know what I mean, so to speak. But if this is a platform where these guys can definitely do what they want to do and feel like, this is what wrestling is and not be controlled and not be told what their ceiling is, I mean, it just works out that way, you know what I mean? But
so I've been on AEW a lot because I feel like the roster is getting pretty saturated, being honest. If I'm just being honest about it, like you're bringing in a lot of these guys who we really want to see a lot from, and then all of a sudden there's nothing for them to do because you have a 2-hour show once a week and stuff. And now that I feel like Rampage is there, and
they should be able to like try to run talent pretty. They shouldn't be so backed up now.
But like from AEW's point too, like CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Adam Cole, Bray Wyatt. We'll see if that happens. They all become available.
That's
you're in the wrong if you're not trying to bring them in. Like you bring them in and figure out how to make it work. Like
absolutely.
If that means like Jungle Boy is gonna have to main event Elevation for a while because there's not room for him on Dynamite or Rampage. You take that out because
and I'm sure that he has before because they got like all of a sudden 16 tag matches that I'm like, when?
Right. And it's super like going back to like Goldberg's record. Sometimes it does feel like a lot of AEW wrestlers have that
like Varsity Blondes for sure. I'm like,
right, where you're just like really? When did you go 16-5? Like
yeah. even the Lucha Bros, I think they said they won their last like 17. I'm like, I would have loved to seen all 17 of those because I've been waiting for y'all to do some tag stuff,
but I do feel like AEW does a decent job of floating people in and out, and I do think like let's just be honest about it too. For example, just because you're bringing in CM Punk, it doesn't mean it's going to be like a 10-year thing, and just because
it's definitely a huge
right
man, like it.
And John Moxley might not be like a 10-year thing, or
see, like my brother was like theorizing, like you think Moxley might be kind of mad, like not to say like he was like Punk before Punk came to the company, but now he's like, well, shit. Now I feel like I'm gonna have to like kind of share my time at the top with Punk and all these other guys coming in. I'm like, I don't think so. I think if anything, like it's putting more eyes on the product. You know what I mean?
And they brought in a lot of guys that are not even like full-time. Like for example, I'm surprised Paul White has a fucking match, but he does fine. It's whatever.
I mean, the fact that it's QT Marshall, I think that's why it's fine because no one really, bless his heart, but when it comes to like, oh yeah, I'd love to see him get knocked out or choke slammed or whatever it's gonna be. You know what I mean? So that works. But
so like for example, they brought in like a lot of guys like Mark Henry and Big Show and stuff like that, but they're not really doing much in my opinion. Like they're doing stuff, but they're not doing much that's gonna take time away from other wrestlers. And then,
exactly, yeah.
And then some of these other people they bring in, like Andrade, hasn't really been like. And the thing is, the best part about Andrade is, in a weird way, like he could do just as much for AEW outside of AEW, like in AAA or something like that.
Yeah, very true. Yeah,
than having to actually be on TV every week, and he's somewhat involved with the Lucha Bros thing. So what's to say the Lucha Bros take the titles off the Young Bucks? Andrade is going to be in the mix of that, So I'll admit, I feel like Andrade's AEW return has been a little but so was Miro's at the beginning.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, I would argue that they kind of turned around, that whole ship for Miro around. Like, I mean, he's been doing well. The whole God's favorite champion thing's been getting over for me. Like, I've been enjoying it. Because but yeah, when he first came in with the video games and shit, I was like, come on, man, we need to get to.
Because like, who's on AEW right now that you're really like worried that they're not gonna get their time? Like, who are we really?
Because
you're
like,
worried? Okay,
because he's one of a few people. I mean, okay, I'll keep it broad, but if we're being specific, then I have other names. But he was someone I'm thinking about. It's like he's just super. They've been super inconsistent with booking him. He's strong. Like he comes out and beats somebody up real strong one week, and then he's gone for like 2 weeks. Then he does like a pre-tape promo with Jake, and then all of a sudden you don't see him again, and then he does another promo without Jake. Lie. Like, it's just, he's been doing this whole thing with Dan Lambert. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what's his next thing, but it's like there's no substance there. Like, a guy that size needs to be, you know what I mean, like showcase and destroying. I mean, like, it's kind of the same thing with Wardlow. They just kind of have these guys on ice, just to, you know what I mean. But
this is why I think they do factions, and I'll admit I don't like all the factions, but if MJF is doing something, even if the crew is not out there, it's like the crew was there, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know.
That's what you're saying.
Like, MJF has a match with Chris Jericho. The Pinnacle was on TV, even if they weren't.
Yeah, true.
And I think that's kind of like, because he's representing.
That's another thing that's been weird to me, is how all these crews have not been seen together. It's so weird. They've just been segmented.
So I'm beginning to think, like, the fact that like their roster is so deep that not a lot of people are bringing it up, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some COVID related stuff going on where, like, that's why we're not seeing like all these crews together, or some of these crews separate for a week. Like, one of the most inconsistent things for me was, like, sometimes the Lucha Bros are hanging out with one person, then they're hanging out with like Eddie Kingston in 1 week. Hanging out with Pac,
and then all of a sudden it's just it's the Lucha Bros tagging, and the next week it's Pac and Phoenix tagging. You're like, wait, what happened? Like, where's Penta?
Right. And then like, why is Eddie Kingston here? Why is this guy out there? Are you guys still upset with Andrade?
As soon as Moxley came back, he definitely shut them out, didn't he? Like, he didn't even mention them anymore.
Which would have been kind of interesting if, like, there's Moxley and he's still kind of like, I'm a standalone guy, but my friend is Eddie Kingston, but my friend Eddie Kingston's also friends with the Lucha Bros. Yeah, and then so like they're not a faction, but when it comes to like 8-man tags,
I was gonna say, I mean, especially when they already have like history with the Bucks and something like that. So, it would be kind of cool down the line, you know what I mean? But one thing I did want to bring up, that I definitely wanted. I was hoping to get Mac on the show for this one, but it's too good not to bring up. It's Brandy Rhodes doing what she usually does, and this is what she tweeted. She goes, "This might start some shit, but let's talk. I see a lot of people complaining on here that there aren't enough black talent featured in wrestling, yet when black talent is out there busting it in main events and holding championships, where's the love? Am I just missing it?" And then someone responded, they were like, I think, they responded about something about Rampage or something, or I forgot what they said, but she had responded saying like, "Oh, we just had a black woman in the main event of the first episode of Rampage," and it was just like, yeah, but she lost.
She lost, and no one believed that she was gonna win.
Yeah, it was like they were clearly in Britsburg, and it was just like, come on, you know what I mean? I mean, that's one of the things that people have not been they've been real quiet about, and I think one day we should actually bring it up on the show, not make it a whole like focus, but because we're not going to bring it up here. But yeah, there is a lack of diversity, as they like to say. I don't want to use the word color, but a lack of diversity a little bit, and not just with blacks, with the black talent, but
on AEW or wrestling in general.
No, just AEW. I mean, you got Bobby, you got Roman, you know what I mean?
Right.
You got Big E with the Money in the Bank. Shinsuke, yeah. I mean, even though he just beat Apollo, they let Apollo have that title for a while, so
right.
And then Damian Priest just won the U.S. title, so yeah, I can't fault them at all. It's you got MSK as the NXT champs, Raquel is the women's champ, Samoa Joe putting on for the Islanders.
Champion. Bianca was champion. I was gonna say Bianca was champion until
Bianca was champion, but then they went with the Irish born last kicker. But I don't know, I like you tell me, you asked me before, people I think that are maybe missing their shot. I think Andrade maybe, but I think he's also involved with other companies enough where he could leave and come back, and still keep his name buzzing and eventually get there. But in the vein of what Brandy just kind of opened up, I think a guy like Scorpio Sky, I like what he's doing with Ethan, but I think he can be easily a TNT champion. I think they should, him and the whole thing with him and Darby was pretty good until they muddied it up and had to do this whole tag team thing. But one person, it's weird because I don't know if you saw Max Caster. He's doing, I think, cameos or something where people can pay him to do diss tracks on people. He not to say that he's someone else I'm thinking about, but I was just laughing about it. Big Swole is somebody I'd like to see finally eventually, come to the forefront for the women's champion or women's division. But that's pretty much it, dude. But I did want to ask you about SmackDown. I enjoyed the storytelling as always. Had Paul Heyman kind of shaking in his boots. I really enjoyed, let me say, the way that the Usos checked Paul Heyman when he tried to get into the door. It was just really it was real. It was literally just an extension of their personalities, but it was so entertaining because it was something that you'd see either in real life or in a movie or something. Asking them all the right questions, which it was kind of funny because usually it's the other way around. They're usually on eggshells when it comes to Roman's business, but I did like that. I did like Seth Rollins promo. I don't know what he got, but he might be on the same stuff that Happy Corbin's on. Which how'd you feel about the Happy Corbin thing?
I'm not gonna lie, I've never been a fan of Baron Corbin. If I'm being honest with you,
he's a great heel magnet and he can work in the ring. I give him his credit. Right. He can work in the ring, but this is the most entertaining stuff I've gotten from him.
I am all in on Happy Corbin.
I was laughing at the hat and everything. I was like, I'm not mad at the hat. I don't know about the name Happy Corbin, but I'm like, but even the fact that he tried to buy the Money in the Bank and he didn't even jump like Big E. He just said, man, I'm too happy for all this. I'm like,
all right.
I think they're trying to push this guy. Is he like a kind of a tweener? But then I was like, also I couldn't help but think, I'm like, man, but isn't Cameron Grimes kind of doing the same shtick right now?
Yeah, he is, right? But
yeah, because especially when I saw the hat and everything and the Bentley, and I'm like, man, he's kind of doing the same thing. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
But I do like the fact that when we first found out that they trademarked the Happy Corbin thing, that we thought they were just going to do.
Oh, that's true. Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah,
we're just like, how are they going to do that? Because it already sounds like it's going to be shit. But I actually like that they long-term book this well to the point where now when he's like, hey, I'm Happy Corbin, we're like, oh fuck, it's because we thought he was gonna be like, oh man, I'm just gonna be happy,
Well, they did this really good, even in the sense of, because I remember I was sending you guys a few stuff, but I was sending my brother, I'm like, yo, this guy's doing the social media thing and really putting this thing over. He's still in Vegas. And I remember he said he had the $35. And I didn't see it until I watched the playback where he came out, even at SummerSlam. People were actually holding money for him to take. I was like, this is a great gimmick, dude. I was and I was like, who'd have thought people would have been trying to give Corbin money a year, 2 years, 3 years ago? You know what I mean? They would have been like, dude, they would probably paid him to get the hell off of Raw because they hated him. But it was just that was funny. I saw the stuff he was doing on social media with the $35 to $100. I was like, yo, this guy's actually coming up. I'm seeing these pictures floating on, him and the girls, him in the room, the presidential suite. I was like, what is going on? But then there was another video where he lost it again. And then there was WWE crew there. And he was like, why are you here? You're always here when I'm down, And I'm like, man, this kind of sucks. And then all of a sudden I'm hearing I hit the big one again. I'm back up. I'm like, what is going on?
I would like to see if they book it where he loses it again, or he spends his money too much or too fast or too much, or they could ride this out for a little while. And I think I'd still like it. I think there's so many options you could have with this Corbin thing that I'm like, okay. Like,
I mean, I'm not. Before I was like, oh, they should have him join like the Alpha Academy to get his funk back. But I'm like, no, this is way better. This is, I mean, to the point where they actually had me feeling sorry for this guy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, with some of the stuff that was going on, I was like, wow, like I'm actually feeling for this guy. Like, you know, I'm not mad at him. I mean, like I said, I like the new direction. He's always been a heel. He seems like he's kind of a heel, but not really. You know what I mean? Like it's just almost like he's just like, again, he's selling the happy thing, so I'm not mad at it.
He doesn't know better. It feels like he's always been a heel, so he doesn't know how to like communicate or be grateful or things like that. So
he really put that over. That's why he was like, even when he was like struggling, it was just like it was just, man, I mean, can y'all just give me like, I just need 10,000. I'm like, that's all you need, like, because that okay, cool. Like, I was like, all right. I didn't know how far they were going with this, because, you know, Vince kind of likes to run people like and kind of embarrass him on TV.
Right.
He sold it with the balding, or the not the, you know, no haircuts, no upkeep with the facial hair and all that. I don't know if this is going to lead to him and Big E again. But you know, we shall see. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I mean, I laughed when the way he was holding the briefcase so dear to him, like just that shit was jokes. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the newest, probably going to be the best T-shirt, or the next T-shirt I buy, which is that new Bloodline. Man,
it's pretty nice, right?
That's a shirt. I mean, it's almost a shirt that the Her Business should have came out with like later. You know, but it was,
that makes
sense.
Mean,
they definitely had that like kind of like a unique pose when they had all the straps too.
I loved when Roman too was like, your family, like you're good. Like it's kind of cool that the Usos were trying to put him in check, but when Roman showed up, it was kind of like, hey, why are you outside? Like,
he's like, I open my own doors now. Like, what's going? That's what I'm saying. Like the storytelling is like, okay. The reason why I was really into it too is last night after Rampage was on, and I was like taking my notes, like 300 was on, and I got really into what, because that's one of my favorite movies.
Right.
And I'm watching like how Leonidas is just like leading these. I'm like, man, like I don't know if Roman's watching this, but like I'm getting some Roman vibes. You know what I mean? Just the way he's just kind of goes into like, you know, each feud, and then how he has his Spartans or his Usos, his cousins with him at his side, his council and all that. So I was like really like kind of in that mind frame, and then watching playing, and like I was like, are these mind games that he's doing? It's like, because sometimes, well, what they say, oh, if someone you know is acting, or if you did something, I think it's like, oh, if you did something wrong and you think your friend's acting funny, it's because you're guilty about what you did or something like that. So it's like your mind playing tricks on you, where it's like, no, they're just being them, but you're being like, oh shit, I'm a shitty person.
Because there's multiple ways to go. It could be that Paul Heyman was like, yeah, I'm really the one who brought Brock back, or it could just be that like when it comes down to that decision, Paul Heyman does sign with Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns was right about Paul Heyman the whole time, and the Usos were wrong. And there's so much.
I could see where Roman actually, they let it play out, and Roman he outsmarts Heyman. If that's where they go, maybe he drops Heyman before Heyman drops him or something, because they left it open where it's like, did he know? And he didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. You know what I mean? So that's what was kind of interesting about it. The other thing is, you know, I know we call it selfish here on the Flow Show, but we want that Bobby Lashley versus Brock match. No, I mean, I'm interested in seeing it. So a lot of people are thinking this is going to lead, because, you know, they had the TLC, or I'm sorry, Hell in a Cell earlier this year, which took away the October pay-per-view, which ended up being the new Saudi show that they're going to be doing, or was it Super Show or Showdown, or I don't know what the fuck it is.
No.
But
Blood Money.
Yeah, Blood Money featuring the Bloodline. And then supposedly people think that this is going to lead to a Roman versus Brock match at Saudi. Heyman turns on Roman, helps Brock secure the Universal title. And then next month, November, we got SummerSlam or Survivor Series, and we finally get, though it's Brock, you know, champion versus champion, we'd get Brock versus Bobby, which if they go that route, cool. I just, you know, my brother was like, well, I don't know, what does that leave Roman? I'm like, I'm not saying he'd be heel or a face, but it's not like he couldn't roll with him and his cousins. I mean, it'd be way better than when the Usos did it with Cena and they still had their faces painted. I would generally love to see the Bloodline move, especially I don't know if you notice they did this kind of out of nowhere segment where Naomi is now apparently part of the SmackDown roster. And I think Mac was saying something about this a couple weeks ago, but interesting. Obviously her man, her boo, her husband, part of the Bloodline. I don't know if she's gonna get iced out because it's like no, it's Bloodline, not in-laws. But we shall see because also there's Tamina who'll be floating on shows because she's the tag champion with Natalya, and then we also got what's her name, Nia Jax on Raw. So we'll see how that goes. But
I think too, like a Survivor Series storyline, which would be really interesting, would be Roman being the head of the table, trying to create a SmackDown team with everyone he's fucked over the last year. And
I can see that. That'd be actually like the Cesaros, the Edges, and like
everyone's like not acknowledging him because they don't like him. But he's the head of the table. So he's got to get his team together, and he's just getting constantly pissed off that no one's acknowledging him on his own team. And you could even see, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just off the top of my head, is they all turn on him at Survivor Series, and they get him eliminated first, and he's just fucking pissed. And that could create a storyline going into the Rumble, then. That's like him against everybody at the Rumble, because like I don't know if they're gonna do Brock versus Roman again until we'll see, So
yeah, they may wait for the Rumble for that one. I could see that.
I'll be honest with you though, Raw fucking sucks. That's asking a lot for them to keep the title on Bobby Lashley. It's not Bobby Lashley's fault, but for them to hold the title, to keep the title on, I don't see anyone taking it off of him.
I mean, I can see them. Never mind. I don't see them doing this, but if they were better at their job, they would build and book Kross eventually to that spot. But if not, you got Keith Lee hanging out backstage who's not doing shit. So I don't know what, if it's me for Survivor Series, I like that idea, but I also remember that they're doing this thing with The Rock. So maybe there's something else that Roman does that, that involves The Rock. Because I was even thinking, if it's Survivor Series, it's the only way that it could happen is if, because that Money in the Bank briefcase, it kind of allows you to float on shows. So, inadvertently, right? I mean, at least that's how I would think, because you can keep your eye on any champion you want. What if it was like Roman's not involved in the championship match? You got the Bloodline versus the New Day.
Very cool.
I don't know if the New Day would be winning the championships from RK Bro by then to make it a champion versus champion match, to be in line with the Survivor Series-esque part of it. But they've also done other things like Brock versus AJ Styles before, and Brock versus Daniel Bryan. But I mean, I believe they're still for the strap, but still. But I had to think that something else they have to do something with him and The Rock, right? I mean,
right. Well, I think I would prefer.
I don't see The Rock coming out in the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean?
I would also prefer if Survivor Series wasn't SmackDown versus Raw. And what you could do is Roman versus Brock. Brock loses, and then Brock says, "Fuck it, I'm going to go to Raw then and face Bobby Lashley at Survivor Series." Like, you could just do that. But I don't know if like they're gonna, because I think the SmackDown vs. Raw thing sucks.
Well, but they don't like to do things fun and things that make sense and that are consistent. Because a couple weeks ago, Sonya said that Bianca doesn't make the matches, but yet they let her make the match against Becky at WrestleMania. So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird times, but yeah, man, that's pretty much all I had for this week, dude.
Yeah.
Definitely join us as we do this every week, and follow us on social media. That is For the Love of Wrestling. That's Flow Wrestling Pod and Flow Wrestling Show, respectively, on IG as well as Twitter. Check us on YouTube, man. Everything's on the link tree. It's all in the bio once you get to our Instagram, man. Again, follow myself as well. That's at Kwency Jones, as well as at the Kwency Jones Show. Follow Brian Andrew _ as well as the LA Clip Forum show, man. Definitely still wait. Dude, I don't know what's going on, Brian. They just waiting, just sitting here waiting on this iTunes thing, man. I don't know.
Oh yeah, is it still not been approved yet?
Like, it's weird because I realized like I already have like the one with mine on it. So I was like, oh, I can add a show to this. So I just added the show, and though it kind of like the process was way faster. I just still haven't got anything yet. So we'll keep you guys in the know, man. We're trying to get there right now. For now, we're on SoundCloud as well as YouTube every Saturday or Sunday, man. We're always going to be reporting live, giving you guys our hot takes on what's going on in the wrestling world week by week, headline by headline. And let's just say that I'm glad that we're not talking about Charlotte being challenged by Alexa Bliss, and I'm not going to end on that.
Yeah, well,
anyways,
we didn't have 2 hours today.
We didn't have. This has been the Flow Show, man. For the love of wrestling, we'll be back next week. That's been the show.